Hey guys, welcome back. I got another knife sheath for you, and this one's going to be a little bit different, and I want to start doing things a little bit different on here in a sense. In the sense of the frequency of knife sheaths. I want to buck down a little bit and start doing these just with changes that I wind up doing with the sheaths, or if I'm doing something just simply a little bit different, and start doing it and do those where they're a little bit different than what I traditionally do. And that is the case with this one. This will still be slightly different. What this customer wants is a double loop on here, double belt loop, and be able to have a straight draw set up on here. This is a simple little roper blade, and this is going to be a little bit different, and I haven't exactly decided how I'm going to do this, but I want to try to make it a little bit fitting with the tip of this with a wrap, and I'm not really sure how it's going to turn out. I've seen people do it in the past, but I'm not real familiar with that design, so I'm going to go ahead and try it, and I'll try my take on it, of course, along with the double strap, and go ahead and jump right on into it. And of course, gotta start with outlining this to get the general shape of the sheath. Alright, so I have this part dry fitted, and I want to see how this was looking so far. I don't have it quite in there, seated in there completely yet, but like I said, I just want to see how this thing was going to dry fit, and I should have more than enough room for 2 stitch lines on here. So got everything kind of trued up for now, and now I'm going to go ahead and move on to the straps. I'm going to go ahead and do probably I don't know, 1.25 inches probably straps, something similar to this, to bring it around loosely, and have one at this end and one down here near this end. So I want to do this loosely on here, so that way you can still, it can be ambidextrous and still be able to draw it both ways. I was not asked to do a mole type of style of a mole sheath, or to be a mole compatible, sorry, that's what I'm trying to say, is a mole compatible one. So I'm going to presume that he probably doesn't carry around a backpack with a mole set up on it. So hopefully that won't be hindered later on, or be desired, I should say, later on. I want to go ahead and continue on with this. Actually, I'll probably just cut this one in half and see how that works. it should work out pretty well. And we'll go ahead and get this glued up and clamped for the night, and come back and start messing with this tomorrow. Also, don't forget to kind of bevel your ends where your blade's gonna go before you start gluing this together. This is another little new thing to the channel. This is just simply a little glue applicator. At least that's what they advertised it as, and it actually does pretty good. I've been using it frequently here and there, and it seems to do pretty nicely. Alright, so here's this part so far. This is what it's turning out to be like. And so far, I'm still kind of worried about this front one. And whenever I go to do my treatment, the paraffin wax and linseed oil mix, as soon as I dump this in, what I'm going to end up doing is probably go ahead and run pass a belt through probably both sides with the blade in. That way, this can kind of stretch out a little bit and should be able to take care of it. I would imagine it would anyways, and go from there. Alright, so I also want to go ahead and take this opportunity to talk about something that has been brought up to me over the last few weeks, month, probably by the time this video is posted, and it's about welts. And I had a few people here on YouTube, along with other platforms, asking why I don't implement welts on my sheaths, and it's a very simple explanation. For those who don't know, a welt is the piece of leather that is in between your cover piece and your back piece of leather for your sheaths here. I don't commonly do those wrap around sheaths like this, and even some of my regular knife sheaths like this, I don't use them. This particular knife, I happen to have done so, along with some of my bigger knives that I have. I've used them in there on these as well. And the reason being is because of the spine, the thickness of the spine of the blade. I use the welt on that side alone when it calls for it. And most of the time, because of my technique of making these sheaths, I don't need them. And that's between these little rivets, the way that I stitch my sheaths together, the way that they are tight and everything, and in the glue. They greatly help keep away from having to use welts on my sheaths whenever it comes to the edge side. And like I said, I do need them occasionally for my thicker blades. And like this one here, this is a 3/16 steel blade, and I kind of need it for this thick of a blade, especially if I'm going to be keeping the threading somewhat close to the spine of that blade. And that's what I did here. I mean, I kind of kept it close. I don't know how well you can see that. And yes, this one is a single stitch, My bigger ones usually are only single stitch. I can't really explain why, minus the fact of room. So I kind of wanted to throw that out there and kind of address this a little bit on the bigger videos. Like I said, it's not always needed. The only time I've ever actually needed them was on the spine. I just figured I'd go ahead and talk about that and give you the reason on why I'm not using one on this, because I just don't see the criteria of needing to have one. So that's that. All right, tomorrow whenever I come back, you'll be seeing me drilling this out, stitching it, and then doing the treatment. So let's go ahead and move on to it. Alright, so I'm actually getting farther along with this than what I actually was thinking I was. So this thing has been fighting me tooth and nail on some stuff. Enough to where I'm actually going to be looking into making some adjustments, trying to figure out what I can do differently. And so primarily the stitch layout that I'm having issues with. With my drill press, I use it primarily for my thicker stuff, but it's really hard to drill out holes on these wraparound sheaths like this, because whenever I have it on the plate, it sits at an angle, so my bits are going diagonally through the part, which will in turn make it closer to the edge on this opposing side. And I don't really like that, so I might end up coming up with something sort of like a spacer or something about that. I don't know yet. Heck, I might end up doing something completely different. I don't know yet. But something's got to change on that if I decide to continue using that. Or I go ahead and start using I shouldn't say start using. I don't have it. I have to start using chisels, but I have to wind up getting some later on in order for me to be able to do so. But my thing is with the chisels, I'd have to get some deep-throated chisels in order for this to work. Plus a set of them, because I have to be able to go through 4 layers of leather here. So the deeper the better on that. Will you stop it? So it's something that I'm going to have to definitely continue on trying to figure out what I'm needing to do with. And it kind of doing this design kind of gives it kind of a snub nose look on this end. Kind of a neat ordeal. I know this is kind of a weird place to put a press rivet, but it's one of those spots where the tip of the blade's at, and just in case type of deal. It'll help keep this from cutting the threading. So along with one down here, so far it's working. So I'm going to go ahead and jump onto my treatment of the linseed and paraffin wax mix, and I gotta go out to the shop for that. So let's go ahead and move on out. All right, it is dipped, so let's go ahead and get this thing wrapped up finally. And still locks in pretty daggone nicely, so I don't think this should be an issue. So go ahead and throw a little bit of this leather balm Atom wax on. Try to shine it up a little bit. Now a little bit of block of beeswax here to go ahead and rub onto the edge here, kind of help seal this exposed edge best that we can. This is almost the quickest I've ever done one, but of course, this is a really small sheath. Another small one. I think it's almost time for me to go ahead and do a big sheath again. So, yeah, I need to figure out something about my layover here where I go to feed it back through and melt it in. Not real sure what I need to do about that, but it does make it look kind of tacky and to clean up my holes a little bit from drilling. Just a little things like that. Try to keep it looking nice, to try to spiffy it up a little bit. But it will more than be sufficient, and I know it'll last for some time for this guy. So this thing is ready to rock and roll. So if you guys want to check out the leatherwork playlist I have, it'll be on the channel's playlist section. And if you guys also want to check out the channel's social medias, I'll be linked in the description below. And I'm going to go ahead and move on to the video verse. And today's video verse is Hebrews chapter 11, verses 32 through 40. And it says, "What more can I say? Time is too short for me to tell about Gideon, Barak, Samson, Jephthah, David, Samuel, and the prophets, who by faith conquered kingdoms, administered justice, obtained promises, shut the mouths of lions, quenched the raging of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, gained strength in weakness, became mighty in battle, and put foreign armies to flight. Women received their dead raised to life again. Other people were tortured, not accepting release, so that they might gain a better resurrection. Others experienced mockings and scourgings, as well as bonds and imprisonment. They were stoned, they were sawed in two, they died by the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, destitute, afflicted, and mistreated. The world was not worthy of them. They wandered in deserts and on mountains, hiding in caves and holes in the ground. All these were approved through their faith, but they did not receive what was promised, since God had provided something better for us, so that they would not be made perfect without us." And that is Hebrews chapter 11, verses 32 through 40. And thanks for watching, guys, and hope to see y'all in the next one.